We start this hour in Europe, and according to Russian state news agency, the RIA, Russia says its air defences shot down 75 Ukrainian drones overnight. The attacks reportedly targeted several regions, including the Volgograd region, where local authorities confirmed casualties and damage. Volgograd Governor Andrei Bachurinov said one man was killed when a drone struck an industrial zone, sparking a large fire on site. Emergency crews were deployed to contain the blaze and assess further damage. The Russian Defense Ministry described the overnight strikes as part of a massive drone assault launched by Ukraine, continuing a pattern of long-range attacks. Kyiv has not commented on the latest incident, however. Now joining us to discuss this is Glenn Grant, an ex-advisor to the Ukrainian Defense Minister. He joins us live from Riga in Latvia. Glenn, thank you very much for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning. Of course, this comes as Ukraine continues its attacks on Russian energy structure. Could you give us a bit of an idea of the capabilities of the Ukrainian air attacks and what they're trying to achieve here?
Well, they're obviously increasing the amount of drones they can throw at Russia because the numbers are going up steadily. So it's actually really, really difficult to pin down how many drones are actually launched at any one night because, of course, this is top secret, both how many and where they're actually going to direct them to. But it's quite clear that the strength of the Ukrainian side is growing, and the ability of the Russian side to stop these attacks appears to be actually getting less. And it's very difficult to understand from the Russian figures exactly what has happened, because unfortunately they're lying a lot at the moment because people senior officials don't want to be thrown out of windows, and generals don't want to be removed because they lose their pension. So it's hard, but we know that they're attacking because the governors are saying that there is damage.
And of course, Glenn, winter is approaching. How does this play into Ukraine's broader strategy of stretching Russian defences?
Yeah, I'm not so sure that it's actually, I'm going to say that the defences in many ways that are going to be damaged as much as the general power situation in Russia itself. Because, I mean, what Ukraine is trying to do is not so much trying to break the defense, because there's too much defense to break. But what they are trying to do is to actually change the paradigm of society and actually start society going against Putin, which there is evidence that this is actually happening in some of the major cities, especially in St. Petersburg. So the more that they can damage power, the more that they can put people under pressure because they can't get fuel for their cars, that the lights go off in the middle of the night, the more that Putin is going to be seen as a hollow force, and his life then becomes at risk.
Of course, Glenn, and in the backdrop of this, we have the Battle of Pokrovsk, which is going on, a key Ukrainian logistics hub in the Donetsk region. Conflicting information about that coming out from both sides. What more can you tell us about what's going on the ground on the Eastern Front there?
Well, I mean, we know that the Ukrainians are there because there are people actually talking out of Petrovsk to their friends and relatives. So what we've got at the moment is a mishmash of battle, with both sides holding ground and taking ground in different parts of the battle. What is not clear is whether the Ukrainian side has managed to withdraw the troops that were forward of Petrovsk and actually almost completely encircled, or whether there is going to be a major loss of Ukrainian troops. This is very, very quiet at the moment. And we're going to have to wait, I think, another week maybe to see whether Ukraine has been successful in pulling all these troops back, or whether they're actually surrounded and cut off completely by the Russians.
And of course, what significance could this battle have in the broader sense of the war?
Actually, to be blunt, nothing.
Okay.
Because unless a lot of troops are lost, in which case then there is a weakening of the Ukrainian side. But I mean, we had Bakhmut, and Bakhmut went on for ages and ages, and everybody said how significant it was, but it wasn't. Um, and we're in the same situation again. We'll lose lots and lots of troops for Ukraine, but it's not going to change the battle. Russia will keep moving forward slowly and steadily, unless Ukraine reforms its military. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be on the horizon yet.
Glenn Grant, thank you very much for bringing that insight. It's always an absolute pleasure to talk to you on these matters. We now move on to our next story and over to Europe, where French President Emmanuel Macron is on a visit to El Salvador as part of his trip to Brazil and Mexico. Apologies, Salvador. As President Macron landed in the Brazilian city of Salvador, he called for a reimagined transatlantic relationship involving Europe, South America and Africa. Speaking in the Brazilian city, Macron said he wants to transform what he described as a triangle of pain into a triangle of love, referring to the historical ties between the three continents. Salvador, located in Brazil's east coast, was the site of the first slave market in the New World. President Macron was referring to the history, of course, of slave trade. Macron is set to attend the 30th UN Climate Change Conference. And now let's listen in to what he said.
Et ce triangle qui a été un triangle de douleur, d'exploitation, de route de la honte, on est en train, par ce forum, mais aussi par tout le travail qu'ont fait nos institutions culturelles, nos artistes, un triangle amoureux.
Et ce triangle...
La mer. Mais je veux vous inviter en effet à inventer un futur qui soit un futur qui assume ses identités sans confrontation et qui regarde en quelque sorte à nouveau ces vierges noires, cette capacité à créoliser les langages et qui se dit l'avenir est à nous si on sait regarder ces routes telles qu'elles ont été. Et moi j'attends beaucoup de vos travaux et l'avenir...
Glenn Grant joins us once again. Glenn, do you think Europe's outreach to Brazil via climate, of course, and trade diplomacy can help mend its credibility in the developing world?
Right this moment, no, I don't. I mean, we've seen lots of initiatives from Macron, haven't we? I mean, his initiatives for Ukraine are almost like one every 2 months, and there's no follow through. And my worry is that this is yet another initiative from Macron that is words, but actually with no substance. I mean, we all know that Brazil is very, very closely tied to BRICS at the moment, to Russia, to China, and sees itself as part of the alternative world system. I don't think a few words from Macron is going to shake that, to be blunt. I think we need a bit more of a serious EU activity. And most of Africans are not going to be swayed by this either.
Yeah, and of course, and this comes as we lead up to the COP30 summit in Brazil. Do you think Macron is pitching Europe as the leading force going forward in climate, tackling climate justice, after, of course, the US is now being led by President Donald Trump?
It's a good question. I mean, Europe is certainly doing more. Possibly also to the detriment of its own businesses and companies, and America has drifted away from climate change as far as you can drift and as quickly as you can drift. So yes, he is trying something, but as I said, I'm not sure that there's the follow through to convince Brazilians to shift their geopolitical stance away from Russia-China group towards the West.
Yes, Glenn Grant, thank you very much for joining us here. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. We now move on over to the Indo-Pacific and North